Now, more than 120,000 Brits have signed up to express their interest in the Homes for Ukraine scheme, opening their doors to welcome Ukrainian refugees fleeing Putin's brutal war of aggression. It's an impressive number, 120,000 individuals, and potentially a far larger number than that of Ukrainian families who'd want to come all the way to the UK. So I wonder, is there an opportunity here? Currently, thousands of other refugees are stuck in taxpayer-funded hotels. Could this voluntary Homes for Ukraine scheme be expanded to cover, for example, Afghan refugees as well? Well, that's the proposal that Sundar Kutwala, David Goodhart and Luke Tryl have suggested in the pages of The Times this morning, highlighting how asking Homes for Ukraine applicants if they would accept other refugees too could help fix our stalling asylum system. Well, I'm delighted to say that joining me now is one of the authors of that letter to The Times, Luke Tryl, the UK director of More in Common, can join me now. Welcome to the programme. First of all, let's talk about the specifics of this proposal. The idea of individuals coming forward to offer their homes, nothing quite like this has been done before.
No, it is truly unprecedented in the UK, and the numbers of members of the public who've signed up to offer their homes is a real testament to that sort of British spirit of both, generosity and kindness, but also that real sense of duty that we as a country have always done our bit to help those fleeing from persecution, and the public want to make sure they're at the forefront of that in this crisis. And the great thing about sponsorship is this isn't the government saying we're going to take some arbitrary number of refugees and we're just going to put them into communities around the country. It's instead about people and communities stepping up. So it puts them in control of who's coming over and allows them to show their generosity. It's just a total 180 on the very sort of government-led asylum and refugee scheme that we've seen in the past. And what we know is from the other country, which has done sponsorship very well for very many years, is Canada, is that the more that you grow this type of scheme, actually the greater public acceptance of refugees and migration becomes. Tom, from your work on Brexit, that actually people's sense of wanting that control, it's not about saying that we don't want people coming over, but it's about people wanting to say, actually, I want to make sure that we've got levers, and it's about us saying we want people to come and support them rather than people coming in a sort of uncontrolled manner.
Yes, and so often in these cases, what people are very concerned about is almost ghettoised communities, people who come over and do not integrate into society, perhaps don't learn English and all the rest of it. Whereas coming and staying with a host family in the UK, of course you're going to integrate much more quickly. You're probably going to be speaking English a lot more as well. You're going to take on the customs, the language. You're going to be part of a community. The question is, although there seems to be wide political consent and enthusiasm for this in the case of Ukrainians, how practical is this to expand? And what other groups of refugees could we potentially take out of those very expensive hotels and bring into people's volunteers' homes?
Well, as you said, Tom, we've got over 100,000 people have signed up to offer their home to a Ukrainian refugee. We think that number will continue to grow and perhaps become quite significantly larger in the coming weeks. And it seems likely that not all of those people who volunteered will match with a Ukrainian refugee. And we very much hope that, the numbers don't reach the very high numbers of people who will be volunteering to put their homes forward. And what we're saying is, we're not saying that anyone should be forced to take in us. People who signed up to the scheme have said, we would like to offer a home to a Ukrainian family. What we're saying is once we've got a clearer picture of who has been matched and who hasn't, that we offer some of those people who haven't yet taken somebody in the opportunity to sponsor an Afghan refugee. And again, we're actually talking about people who are already in the country. Around 12,000 Afghan refugees who were rescued during the evacuation of Kabul airport last year. They're in hotels. That's costing the taxpayer around £1.2 million a day to keep them in hotels. And we're saying look, why don't we offer some of the people who've stepped forward the opportunity to give their home to one of these refugees as well, which seems a very sort of sensible, practical step. That won't be for everyone, but we're sure that some people will step up and want to do that. And again, that brings then all those benefits. You don't have these ghettoized communities, people in hotels, in refugee centres. They're within our communities and they're being supported to get a job, to learn English, to contribute, to be part of society. And that must be a more sensible approach.
That's extraordinary that 12,000 Afghans who are already in the UK are costing the taxpayer 1.2 million a day in hotels. That 12,000 is barely 10% of the number who have, in the first 24 hours, signed up to this scheme. If only 10% of them would say I'd welcome an Afghan too, that would solve the problem entirely. To what extent do you think you're pushing at an open door with this policy? I mean, it seems just really quite sensible.
Exactly. We think the reason we made the proposal is that we think that it's common sense, but we also know, knowing how systems and government work in times of crisis, people are working flat out and are focused quite rightly on supporting Ukrainian refugees to get into the country to make sure that the scheme works. And we just don't want this opportunity, the fact that so many people have stepped forward, to be lost in and amongst that. So again, it's very much about saying, we recognise people have stepped up to offer a room to a Ukrainian refugee. Once we have a clearer picture on who's being matched, let's just extend that further. We hope it's just a similar common sense step for people who are already in this country and who desperately now want, to be in somewhere just a bit more permanent, where they're getting the support to become, an active part of UK society.
And just finally, in the last few seconds of this interview, Luke, what kind of political support have you seen? Although this is a very nascent campaign, have any MPs come on board, or what do you expect to happen in that space?
Well, we're going to be reaching out to MPs from across the political divide to build support for this proposal. We hope that they will see it as a sort of common sense solution. But as you know, it's early days. But once we have engaged and reached out to more people, we'd love to come back and talk to you about the campaign a bit more.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to doing so. Luke Tryl, for now, thank you very much for joining us here on The Briefing this morning. Really fascinating campaign there.